Welcome back everyone to Elizabeth Eats. I'm Elizabeth Ryder, and today is my public service announcement to turn your turkey, your Thanksgiving turkey, into stock. Now, I have a cooked chicken here because, truth be told, we filmed these a little early and I could not find a turkey that was not frozen solid. But it's the exact same method. We've lost a lot of the old world ways of doing things, which I love living in the modern world. I love modern conveniences, but my grandparents came from a farm. My grandmother actually didn't go past 8th grade because she had to go work on the farm. And I grew up with her and my mom using a lot of old world styles of cooking. One of those things is to always, after you've roasted a chicken or a turkey or any bird, to make stock out of it. You can get anywhere from 8 to 12 cups, like 3 or 4 quarts of beautifully rich stock that will save you money at the store, and it tastes so much better than anything store-bought. It's also really good for you. Homemade stock is full of collagen and protein and nutrients from the veggies that you have. And this is a method, not so much as a recipe. I have a recipe for this. I will link it in the description below so you can print this, or if you need to follow an exact recipe. But what this is I want you to take your Thanksgiving bird and any bones that are left and get it into a slow cooker. I know you're tired, especially if you cooked on Thanksgiving. It's the end of the day. So we're gonna make this super easy. And if you go visit someone who does not do this, ask them if you can take the bird home and do this. Now, I will say, if you have stuffed your turkey, make sure you get all the stuffing out. Make sure everything is out of it. And if you used a ton of oil and butter, just pick up the turkey carcass. We're honoring the bird by using all of it, and rinse it under water if it's super oily. I just roasted this chicken with a little bit of olive oil, so I'm not gonna do that. But if yours is drowning in oil, just rinse it under the sink really quickly. But you wanna pick it up just like this and put it right into your crock pot. If you don't have a crock pot, you can do this in your biggest pot on the stove on a simmer. The crock pot to me is more efficient, and then I don't mind it going overnight. I often leave this for 24 hours, up to 48. I wouldn't go more than 48 hours because it starts to taste a little bitter, but you can simmer this for anywhere on high in your slow cooker from 10 to 48 hours, and you're gonna have a gorgeous, beautiful stock. And to me, one of the beautiful things about stock is it's always a little different. So you just wanna add celery, carrot, and onion, which you probably have because those are Thanksgiving ingredients. You just need to wash them. You don't need to peel them. If they're egregiously dirty, you can cut parts off, but just give them a rinse. We're gonna strain this whole thing, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like. My celery's not breaking very easily. You can break it in half. You wanna create some surface area. You can cut it too with a knife, obviously. Same with the carrots. You don't need to peel them. I've rinsed these. There's a little bit of dirt on 2 of the ends of these, so I'm just gonna cut that off. And then I'm just gonna cut these in half. Again, mostly it's to fit into the crock pot or your stock pot, but you want to create a little bit of surface area. Just put those right in. Hopefully, throughout the week, if you've been cooking, you have a few extra things. I've got some extra onions. These are halves and quarters of onions that I used from earlier in the week. You can just put this whole thing in there. If you want to create some more surface area, you can cut it in half. Don't worry about the onion skins. We're straining this. There's nothing wrong with onion skins. That's a white onion. And then I've got some red onion here. I've already used a little bit of it. I need a little bit of red onion for a recipe later in the week. So I'm gonna cut this in half. And then this big chunk is just gonna go straight in here. One thing you can do as well, as you're preparing your Thanksgiving meal, you can set aside these things into one bag. So at the end of the night, put your turkey in, put your veggies in, fill it with water, turn it on high, and don't think about it until the next day or the day after. I have some thyme here. I'm not gonna bother to take it off of those stems. I'm just gonna throw it right in. I have a little bit of parsley left over. Thyme and parsley are fantastic in stock. You want the stems, like the stems are good. I want a handful of parsley. I don't want too much, but a handful of the stems. That's a great way to continue to use them up. And if I wanted to make more stock, I have more stems here to do. If you don't have any thyme and parsley, you could use a teaspoon of dried thyme or parsley. And then I always throw a bay leaf in stock as well. It's that easy. Now, your turkey probably had salt and pepper on it, so you might not need to add any. I'm not gonna add any salt because I wanna add salt when I use the stock. I can use it in soup, I can use it in chili, but depending on how much pepper, if you feel like there's a lot of pepper left on that turkey, you don't need to do this, but I'm gonna grab just like 5 peppercorns. Now, there is a book called Nourishing Traditions that is a fantastic resource. I'll link it below in the description, all about the traditions of making stock and the different ways you can do it and how healing it is. Stock is essentially, if you simmer it for a really long period of time with a little bit of vinegar, it's essentially bone broth. You may have heard of bone broth before. It is just a long simmered stock where the collagen from the bones comes into the stock. So if you want to do this, you can. I almost always do this. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of vinegar. You could use distilled white vinegar or apple cider vinegar. I would not use a balsamic vinegar or a fancy salad dressing vinegar, just a plain vinegar. It will not taste like vinegar, but the acid, the acidic element of the vinegar will help you get more collagen out of the bones and skin and parts of the turkey. About a tablespoon of vinegar, we don't need a lot. Again, we don't want our stock to taste like vinegar, but we do want to get as much of the good stuff out of the turkey as possible. Now I'm going to put this in my pantry, fill it with water to the top, leave like a little bit, maybe a quarter of an inch so it doesn't bubble over, put it on high and then forget about it, like I said, for the next day or two. I also wanted to show you one more thing. I let everybody help themselves to this over the next few days. It needs to go at least overnight to be cooked, but I will set out a plate and a strainer and a ladle. And then over the next few days, everyone can just come in here and ladle themselves a scoop into a mug or into a bowl. And this is just beautifully nourishing stock. Obviously, you can also put it in containers and save it for your cooking. This is just such a great way to get a lot more food out of a roasted bird. So let's take this into the pantry and fill it with water and we'll be good to go. All right, this is just one stock recipe. I also have a chicken stock recipe on my website. But again, the beauty of stock is that it's a little bit different every time you cook it if you want it to be. If you want to stick to one recipe, that's great. If you want to change it up a little bit every time you make it, just aim for celery, carrot, and onion, about 2 to 3 ribs of celery, 2 to 3 carrots, 1 to 2 onions of any color. If you have shallot or green onion left over, that's awesome in there. Add some either fresh or dried herbs. I stay away from things like cilantro and basil, the really delicate herbs in my stock, because it's gonna cook for a really long time. So I would go for, I love the stems of parsley. I love thyme. Rosemary is great. To me, rosemary is almost too overpowering of a flavor in stock, but you can kind of just find your own stock recipe that you love and continue to make that. Again, I wait to add the salt, but if you wanted to add a tablespoon of salt to that, you could. Add a tablespoon of vinegar, a couple of whole peppercorns, a bay leaf. You could even add some garlic to that if you had it. I did not add garlic to this one because I'm not sure what I'm going to use that for, and I'm not sure if I want that garlicky flavor. But if you love garlic and you know you're going to want it, you could throw either 2 or 3 whole cloves in there, or just 1 clove, cut it in half to create some surface area. There are so many options with your stock. Another great idea for it is, and I will link the recipe here, I have a ginger turmeric bone broth on my website as well. So you can forget the thyme and the parsley flavors and you can go with some ginger, some garlic, some lemongrass, and you can make a really rich stock with some of the flavors borrowed from the different styles of Asian cooking. And really quickly, I want to show you, because that's going to take 2 days, I have 2 chicken stocks here that I've made. This one went for 48 hours, so you can see how dark this is. This one went for about 24 hours, maybe even like 20 hours, so it's a lot lighter. Both are great. This one has a little bit deeper flavor, but depending on what your life looks like and how much time you have, when your stock is done, you just want to strain it through a big strainer, of course, with a big bowl on the bottom to catch it, and then store it in any containers that work for you. It will keep in the refrigerator for up to 5 days, maybe 6, and it will freeze really well for up to 6 months. It's a myth that things last forever in the freezer, so if it starts to get freezer burn, it's probably too far gone. But things last, 4 to 6 months in the freezer. I will say, if you're going to freeze it, you want to use a container like this. I know it's plastic, but a container like this that is curved, a mason jar, will crack in the freezer. So do not put this in the freezer. If you have glass freezer safe containers, that's great. Use that. Use whatever works for you. I like these. This is a 4-cup measurement. So if I know I need 2 cups of stock, or if I need 4 cups of stock, I just know exactly what I have. You can heat this up in a mug with some lemon juice. It's wonderfully nourishing. Or you can use it to make any of your soups or stews. You can use it as a liquid in rice to make some really savory, delicious rice. There's just so many options with it. So whenever you roast a bird, make sure you make some stock and get all of the nourishing food out of that bird. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me learning all about stock. If you like the show and you like this recipe, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That is the best way to support the show so we can continue to make more episodes just like this. You can always find all of the recipes I talk about on the show at elizabethrider.com. Everything there is for you to search, print, everything's linked below for you, and consider signing up for my newsletter that goes to over 65,000 people every week to learn new recipes straight to your inbox. Thanks for being here, and I hope to see you next week.